I'm gonna turn mine on silent.
Hello, greetings. Welcome to Passive Income Active Wealth.
Well, you started out really excited, but they slowed down.
Well, I had to slow it down because I keep forgetting the name of our show. I am Bill Fairman.
It's passive income, active wealth. No, passive, active income, passive wealth. What is it?
Passive Income Active Wealth.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. Well, it's been our name for a while. We just haven't been saying it. So I'm Bill Fairman. This is Wendy Sweet and Jonathan Davis at the other end.
And we've had these names for a while too, right?
That's right. We are Carolina Capital Management. We are a lender. And if you'd like more information on borrowing money, go to our website, carolinahardmoney.com. Click on the borrower tab. If you're an investor that is looking for passive wealth and active income, click on the investor tab. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. This is our ugly question portion of the show. If you have any questions, that they could be ugly
or pretty,
we have a comment box to the right or underneath, depending on the platform you're on.
That's right.
And put your question in there. We're happy to answer it.
That's right. But before we get started, I just want to say, and I'm spewing personal stuff on the air, but I think it's really important that the more
as long as it's not coronavirus, no one cares.
Well, it is about the coronavirus. We have some very close relatives of ours, cousins, and our uncle who's 89, and our aunt who's 87. And cousins. We have a cousin that's not doing very well right now. So if you'll lift them up in prayer, we would be very grateful for that. Their names are Joe and Clyde and Joan. And we would be really, really grateful
Megan
for
and
that.
Peggy.
Yeah, Megan and Peggy are sick too, but they're on the mend,
Good.
so to say. You know, my husband had it. He started out with COVID feet. Have you ever heard of that? It's a rash. It's a rash.
I saw pictures.
It's a rash on your feet. It looked like he had bug bites. He was hollering at the kids for letting the cats in, saying that we had fleas in the house. and then he realized that, wait a minute, these aren't fleas, and went to the doctor and had a rash. I didn't know that you could have a rash, but you can have COVID rash.
That's
and
so
it's,
strange.
I mean,
yeah.
It is COVID, but it shows up in a rash form. That was kind of wild. So that you've learned something new.
Yeah, I definitely have. Wow.
It's all over the internet too. You know, if it's on the internet, it's real.
Well, if it's on your husband, I'm sure it is real.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. So after all that excitement.
Of course, your husband is someone who cauterizes his own wounds.
Yeah, he is his own family doctor. There's no doubt about it. Scary man.
So our first ugly question.
We're going to ask one now,
and
right?
I'm going to pause.
Yeah.
Because we're going to ask.
There's why.
The first ugly question is, what happens when a borrower files bankruptcy? And we have chapter 7, 11, and 13. So we're going to talk about some of the differences and what some of your options are.
And the reason why we even came up with this question is because we're actually going through it right now. And it's the second time in 20 years that I've been lending that we've ever had a borrower file for bankruptcy while they had a loan with us.
Yeah.
And it makes things a little trickier. But the first one turned out beautiful. We ended up selling the house to the guy after we foreclosed and made not only all our money, but much more off of it.
Get all our interest and everything else out of it. Yeah.
Which was really, really sweet.
And sometimes the bankruptcy is to lengthen or
give them some breathing room.
Just a strategy to keep your house from being foreclosed.
Right.
On.
Yeah, well,
right.
And in some cases, you just get hit with a bankruptcy, even though they were paying just fine.
Yeah, it wasn't even late.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I had a conversation with the gentleman this morning who came in our office, but it's a tactic that people use to give themselves, like you said, breathing room. I mean, once you file for bankruptcy, you have, depending on where you are, between 60 and 120 days to prepare your plan to submit to the courts. So you have that time where you don't have to really do anything, but foreclosure or whatever else is happening, everything's frozen. That no one can foreclose on you, take anything from you. You have that time to prepare your plan. So a lot of people use it, they call them like sham bankruptcies.
Yeah.
You file it to give yourself that breathing room, and then you get dismissed from it.
Yeah. But even during that bankruptcy, we as a lender are still able to charge interest for that loan not being paid. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, it accrues. I mean,
Yeah,
if they don't pay it, we can't just. Wish we could force them to pay. That'd be great. But no, it's still accruing. Yeah. I mean, the interest does not stop accruing just because you're in bankruptcy.
Yeah. Yeah. So it gives them some breathing room, but they're still on the hook for money that's out. So that's really what spawned this question. And I thought it would be a great time for us to talk about bankruptcies, the 7, 11, and 13 and how they work, and the good, bad, and the ugly of it. So,
well, just an overview. A 7 is a total liquidation, so to speak. I only have this much money. These are my bills. These are the ones that are pretty much going to get paid.
Well, and the courts determine that. I mean, right. it's secure.
The trustee.
The trustee. The secured debts get paid first, and mortgages are given preference on the secured side above automobiles or other things that might have secured collateral. But the number one is any debts or things or money that you owe to the government is top of the list, is number one.
Yeah, Uncle Sam gets his.
You can't. Bankruptcy doesn't work on taxes.
That's exactly right.
It's exempt. And as a person who is filing for bankruptcy, you can also exempt certain creditors if you want to. You can keep
a car out,
your mortgage outside of the bankruptcy,
or your vehicles.
Or it's things that you need to
live,
to create an income for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and both the 11 and the 13 are reorganizations. You're basically setting up payment plans.
And 11 is personal.
You can afford.
11 is
11 business.
11
and 13
is the business,
personal.
and 13 is the personal. But they're basically just reorganized. You see that a lot.
Now on the 13, you have 60 months of a reorganizing plan. Is the 11 different? Are you still given 60 months? Or how does that work?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
60 months or 60 days?
60 months. So on a 13, it's a 5-year plan.
Right.
Basically to get you back on track.
Right.
I'm assuming that's up to the trustee on the business side of it. You're seeing a lot of, especially retail businesses are filing reorganization right now because, essentially their businesses were all shut down.
Right.
And, they already had certain debts, and they're basically trying to restructure those debts.
Yeah.
The thing with an 11 and a 13, you're not trying to keep from paying any of it. You're just not paying it as originally agreed.
Right. Right.
And you're getting more time to pay those off.
Right. Now, in this case, for the guy that filed bankruptcy on this particular property, that we have two houses that he has with us, and actually a third lot, I think, that he hasn't started building on.
Correct.
And those 2 houses are finished. Mm-hmm. They're done. They're staged. They're on the market.
They look good.
Yeah, they're on the market. So he's filed bankruptcy. They're going to be in the bankruptcy. We haven't had the hearing yet to decide, what their plan is, but here they are in a bankruptcy. So they're on the market. Somebody comes along, puts in an offer to buy it. So now what does he do to get it out of the bankruptcy? It has to go through a lot of hoops.
It goes back to the trustee.
Trustee has to approve all sales inside the bankruptcy.
Yeah,
exactly.
And they'll decide who gets the money first.
Yeah. Well, the lender usually wins on that.
Yeah.
I mean, let's think about, why would he do this? Could it be that there are vendors that he owes on this house too?
Could be.
And, it's up to the trustee to decide, well, the lender gets this much and the vendors get this much of whatever is sold, right?
Could be. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it comes down to, the issue is like a bankruptcy. It's an interesting thing. So if there's vendors on if the vendors have taken out a M&M lien, materials and mechanics lien on the property, the only way to extinguish that is through foreclosure, or if the trustee reorganizes that debt. But if it's secured to the property, we'd have to have probably an attorney weigh in on that to see whether a trustee could remove that or not. I'm not
Disclaimer,
sure.
Yeah.
none of us are attorneys.
Yeah.
No,
We
No.
don't even play one on TV.
no, we defer to the professionals on that. But nonetheless, we have to deal with these issues, so it's worth talking about.
So the answer is it depends.
It depends. Yeah.
And you need to have a bankruptcy attorney. I mean, you can talk to a real estate attorney and they may have some general understanding of the bankruptcy laws, but they don't really focus in on that.
Mhm.
So you'd have to specifically get with a bankruptcy attorney to figure out all the ins and outs.
That's right. And there's a lot of good ones out there. We use Hutchins Law Firm.
Yeah.
And they are pretty much a foreclosure mill is how I refer it to them. That's what they do. That's what they focus on. I think they're based out of Fayetteville.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I know they have offices in Charlotte too, but I think they're based out of Fayetteville. But I mean, they know how to run it through. They're in North Carolina.
Well, they can do South Carolina too, right?
Can I don't know.
I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure
know if they
they're
do or not.
licensed in both states, but
But yeah, I mean, on the bankruptcy side, I mean, like we don't see too many do that, and the primary reason is we're lending on
Businesses.
investment
Mhm.
properties to businesses. So we don't see a lot of bankruptcies on the business side because a lot of these, whether by accident or by purpose, they are special purpose entities.
Mhm.
They open this LLC to buy this property. And when you have a special purpose entity, it's a single asset special purpose entity. It becomes what's known as a bankruptcy remote entity, where it's easier for the lender to get that asset removed from the bankruptcy because it's the only asset in the LLC.
Right.
So,
Right.
so that's another thing. If you're doing private lending yourself and they're doing it in the name of a business, it's a good idea to run a check on the business and see if there's any other properties in the name of that particular business you're lending to.
yeah.
Because
So when
somebody could, if I'll give you another example. You have a short-term, excuse me, a commercial loan with a balloon note, and you have more than one property in the LLC, and you're trying to, and you can't get refinanced because you're, the bank is calling the note due, and no one will refinance you on that particular property. How do you protect that property or give yourself more time to get it refinanced so you can get it out from under them? Well, you file for bankruptcy in that LLC, and guess what? All the properties in that LLC now are in bankruptcy, whether you were paying them on time or not.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, if you have more than one property in there, as a lender, if there's more than one property, somebody else filing foreclosure on one property or calling the note due on one property could trigger the bankruptcy on your property.
Very
That's
true.
right.
So
Very true.
you might want to consider only lending to people that would set up maybe a trust for each property or a single LLC that's going to hold the property. That might be a good strategy.
That's how I buy property is in a trust.
In trust.
Mm-hmm.
I know land trusts are very common to buy property,
Yeah.
and a lot of people use those, especially in Florida. I see a lot of land trusts in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I think is kind of unusual too is, how much money do you need to have to protect before you file bankruptcy? Back in 2007, 2008, 2009, like the bankruptcy courts were slapped full. Everybody was filing bankruptcy.
Mhm.
And I have had run across people who filed bankruptcy and they had like $20,000 in credit card debt, or just minimal stuff that they were filing bankruptcy for. It didn't make sense. So what do you need to do? I mean, how much money should you really have to file bankruptcy? I mean, what kind of assets does it make sense to do that? Otherwise, the attorney's just getting, a lot of money.
Well, maybe. Yeah, I think it depends for everybody. 10,000 to one person is nothing, and to another person, it's everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know that answer. I mean, I would say if you're running a business, usually you're filing bankruptcy because you don't have any cash.
Yeah.
And you do have a lot of credit card debt, and you have mortgage debt, and you don't have the liquidity to pay for it. So you want to slow things down, reorganize it if you can. So I don't know like what's too little or whatever, but I think everyone has their own situation.
Threshold of what they think it is, but gosh, but what that did is this person that they didn't put their house in it, they didn't put their car in it, they just put their credit cards in it. And what that did is it kept them from being able to buy a house for 5 to 7 years because they filed bankruptcy on a $20,000 credit card payment.
Well, I mean, just my thought just on that is like, if you had any equity in your home, you just take out a HELOC or, and pay off your credit cards that way.
You could borrow money from family and friends.
Yeah, $20,000. I mean,
if you had to do that.
We become jaded as lenders.
Yeah.
We think $20,000.
It's nothing.
I can go find that tomorrow. But I think for most people, $20,000, that is a lot of money. That is, especially when you're paying 22% interest on it.
That is true. He's talking about a meeting we were in yesterday. I thought, I'm closing a loan on Friday. I need to find $58,000. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy. I can do it.
My wife always, she laughs because I'll say it's the same thing. Like, oh yeah, I want to buy this property and I need to find X amount of money by, next week. She's like, what? She's like, I couldn't sleep if I had to, find that. I was like, oh, don't worry, we'll find it.
Get it.
Let's go back to getting a HELOC to pay off your credit cards. Never do that.
Why?
Because now your credit cards have become a lien against your house.
Well, that's not.
Yes. So if you're the type of person that can't get a handle on their spending,
well, you should put them in an ice block and then finance them.
You've just added more debt to your home.
Yeah.
If it's in a credit card, really, for the most part, the only thing the credit card companies are going to do is say,
irritate you.
Pay me.
Yeah, your credit score will go down. You can't buy things in the future.
Can't get a HELOC.
I mean, the advantages
or another house.
The advantages is your interest rate's going to be lower.
A lot lower.
You're going to be able to deduct that interest off your tax returns. Mm-hmm. But you continue to add debt to your house, you're limiting your exit strategy if you're one of these people that, again, can't control their credit card spending. So it's something to think about.
That's a good point.
And credit cards too. I mean, I want to get back to the chapter 11 stuff. I want to talk a little bit more about that, but I do have to mention this about credit cards. That they are, a credit card makes you a slave. There's no doubt about it. And any loan makes you a slave to the lender. It's in writing. It's in the Bible. It's in writing. But and I'm not saying but or however to the Bible. It's real. So
the Bible is real.
There's debt so far. So the thing that I think is important for us to understand is that there's positive debt and there's negative debt. And a positive debt is debt on something that's going to bring you income back. Mm-hmm. That's good debt to have.
But that's not even debt. That's now an asset.
It's an investment.
Yeah, you've turned that debt into
negative
an asset.
debts are like your car. That's not bringing you any kind of investment back. It gets you from point A to point B. But gosh, if you can pay cash for a car, do it. Who cares what it looks like? Says the girl with over 100,000 miles on her car, and we'll drive it till there's 300,000.
Yeah.
That's
it
bad
could be a
debt.
piece of junk, but it could still look good.
That's right.
Hey, was it Dave Ramsey says the cheapest car to drive is the one you already own?
Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Even when it breaks down, it's still cheaper to do that. So, but credit card debt can really get you in deep doo-doo. And especially if you're falling for that system of what they called seed money, where you're getting these 0 interest credit cards and you're stacking them. You're getting 10 on this one, 10 on this one, 10 on this one. And look at all this money I have to invest. Well, let me tell you that 1 year comes around real quick. And then all of a sudden you owe, 16, 18% on all these credit cards. Mm-hmm. And now your credit is trashed because your limit is going to be maxed out.
Yep.
So it's just a dangerous place to be. Be careful.
Yeah. Like financial wisdom, that if we can impart any, I guess.
Is that an oxymoron?
Financial wisdom? I hope not. So create, like Wendy said, you want to create an asset that's income producing. We all want to buy things. We all, we are a consumer driven market. Like buying things is part of our society, part of our entire system here. So that's what happens. If you're using credit cards to buy things, your TV, your shoes, all these things, that's an issue, because now you're taking on high yielding or high interest paying debt to buy just things.
Now,
if you go down in value every day,
that have no value after day one. So if you buy it, if you save up your money and buy an asset, like let's say you buy, I don't know, a house, a rental house, and it's producing net cash flow to you $200 or $300 a month. You take that $200 or $300 and you can buy things with it that you want, because now you have an asset that's producing this, and it's no longer a liability, really. You're not creating a credit card liability.
That's right.
That's,
Now, keep in mind, especially with COVID, people don't want to deal with cash. You're going to use that credit card a lot more than you used to.
Sure.
Just have the discipline to pay the thing off at the end of the month.
We're not saying don't use credit. I have credit cards. I mean,
well, our company,
we all have
does.
credit cards.
I mean, we went over our financials yesterday, and we were going through through a time frame where we were just making minimum payments on the credit card. They've got huge lines on them, but we were making minimum payments on it. And then we realized how much we were really paying in interest. So we said, you know what, we're just paying them off every month. That's what we're doing, paying them off every month. We compared what our interest savings was year to date based on what it was last year.
We paid 60% less in interest payments this year as opposed to last year.
And that was a lot of money. It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I was really, really shocked. So interest we love interest. That's how we make money. We don't like to pay it. We like to receive it. And that's the way you should be thinking as well when you're doing that. So let's get back to chapter 11 is the business one, right?
Correct.
So one of the things that doesn't scare us when we see somebody's filed a chapter 11, we want to see how they've paid that out. We want to see their character through the chapter 11. It's a whole lot easier to throw up your hands and walk away. And you can do that.
That's more of a 7.
Yeah. And your credit score will go back up pretty quickly when you do that too. But when you've shown the character of doing what you can to work off who you owe and what you owe, that makes us feel a whole lot better, because, we don't want to keep you down. We want to give you an opportunity to continue to grow and expand and be in business and look toward the future, and showing us what your character is makes a big difference to us.
Well, and one of the biggest things when we were talking about bankruptcy, and I think would be, remiss if we didn't mention this, would be communication. If you are in communication, the situation that Wendy was bringing up with the borrower, we had no communication on that.
Yeah, and we've reached out 3 or 4 times, still nothing, crickets.
But we've been in situations where, a borrower calls us and says, hey, here's my situation. Here's what's going on. Here's what I have to do to protect myself, my family, whatever it is. And we formulate a plan with them that protects their interest and also, protects ours.
Right.
And we work together.
Right.
There is absolutely ways in bankruptcy to work together with the lender.
Absolutely.
It's not it doesn't have to be a versus situation where you versus them. It can be together.
Yeah. And that's the way it should be. What?
A versus. I like that.
Versus situation.
That's not a big word like we usually have once a week.
But it's used uniquely, and I think there should be points given out for that.
No. Sarah, my wife's making fun of me. I have a new word that I like to use, and she doesn't like it. But
what's it called?
Mercurial.
Okay, I gotta have the definition on that one.
It would just be basically just like moody, subject to I would say that most of the contractors are very mercurial. They, one day you get them and they're all happy, and then one day you get them and it's like the sky's falling. You never know what their mood is going to be.
That's awesome. Awesome. Okay, so Myron has a question for us. Do you all lend to people out of bankruptcy?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Well, that depends.
We do. Usually we're looking for several years removed from the bankruptcy.
And that's what it depends on.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
wanna see your
Usually,
track record
yeah,
since
yeah.
the bankruptcy.
Yeah, it's, if you just got discharged from bankruptcy, probably not, because we don't have a credit history from you getting out of that to look at and say, okay, he or she went through this and now they're on the right track. Now they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. All we see is, hey, you're out of this.
Unless you've had some of your stuff out of it, and we've seen a track record on that.
Perhaps, yeah. Yeah.
Again,
So
bad,
it's a
bad things
situation.
happen to good people all the
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
We look at things globally. If you've been out for a short period of time, you don't really have that reestablished track record. If you have a business partner that does have a good track record,
Yep.
We're gonna the good stuff offsets the not so good stuff,
Yeah.
and we look at it globally.
Yeah.
Typically you'll see, not to stereotype, but a lot of contractors, developers have to file bankruptcy, especially, from 2007 to 2010.
Mhm.
What they do to get back in it is they build a business relationship with somebody else who is a stronger financial partner, and they have the experience. So now you're bringing both. You have experience on one side and finances on the other. You
Mhm.
team up together. We do those deals all day long. We like both those. We want experience and strong financials.
Yeah. Plus, if you have a lot of money in the bank, that makes us happy.
Yeah.
Well, if you had a lot of money in the bank, you probably didn't need to file for
Well,
bankruptcy.
no, this is after they're out, smarty pants.
But we also know that I can have $1 million in the bank today and zero tomorrow.
That's right.
So
we've seen that too.
we've seen that happen. Yeah. But yes, to answer your question, we do lend out of bankruptcy. There are a lot of nuances to it. And if you have a situation, we would love to talk with you and see if it's something that we can make work.
Okay.
I love it.
Are we done with the bankruptcy?
I think so.
Have
Yeah.
we beaten that dead horse?
Well, I think it's a great topic.
Just kidding.
Are we ready for our next question?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
When I first started in this industry, I guess, he's already, he's on it. Man, he's on it. I was gonna say, when I first started here, I knew nothing, or not here in Carolina, but in the real estate business, obviously knew nothing about it. And the first time I heard someone say, "Oh yeah, so-and-so BK," I was like, they going to Burger King? What are they talking about? BK is what they, shortened abbreviation for bankruptcy that people use.
Yeah.
So if you hear BK, it's not always Burger King.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so before this question, we are Carolina Capital Management, and we do make loans. So if you'd like to find out information on our lending, go to CarolinaHardMoney.com. Click on the borrower tab if you're an investor looking for passive returns. Click on the investor tab. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. And then if you have any questions,
Hit the
please
bell.
hit the comment section.
I like that. I wonder
Okay.
what the bell is.
I don't know.
What is the bell? Where'd the bell come
Yeah, ding dong. Okay, so the question is, if I wasn't, and then this one really makes me scared. If I wasn't going to use you as a lender, who should I use?
That's a
from? It
deep question.
depends
It's a very
on
deep
what
question.
your needs are.
Exact- and where you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Geography, what your needs are, all those things.
So we are an incredible lender. We're good at it. We're easy to work with, and we're trustworthy.
And there's other good ones out there.
There
Absolutely.
are a lot of other people that are the same, and that's what I think is really important for people to know is you should never just have one lender that you work with. You should have a multitude of people that you've built relationships with that you can go to for financing. Now, we'd like to be your only hard money lender, but there's other good hard money lenders that are out there.
Yep.
And let's throw some out. I think Boomerang is a good company to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are. And again, but they don't lend nationwide. They
Right.
are out of Arizona. So they do a lot of Texas, California, Arizona, a few other states, but they're generally going to be in the Southwest and South.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I would say another Texas lender that I would go with would be Investor Loan Source. that's Tom Barry's
Oh
shop.
yeah, Tom Barry's company is
Yeah,
really good.
Investor Loan Source. I think he might do some other states surrounding Texas.
He does.
And I think they're trying to advance a little bit further out, but definitely in that area, Investor Loan Source would be a good one.
And then in our area here, Lima One. Lima One's a good company. They've been around a long
they land
time.
in most states.
Yeah, I think they're nationwide.
Yeah,
They are headquartered in Greenville, South Carolina.
that's right. That's
And
right.
I would say if you're in Georgia, like Atlanta area, Atlanta Private Lending is another good one. I know James Melton is the president of that company. I've been friends with him for I don't know how many years. He's a good guy, and it's a good company to work with.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Let's see. How about Lending One?
Lending One.
Yep. Now they're based out of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Do they do nationwide too, don't
Yeah.
they?
They do.
Yeah.
They absolutely
They have
do.
a really good long-term
I think that's who I'm working with.
multifamily as well.
That is who you're
That's
working
that.
with. Yeah, you're using them, Jonathan.
I'm refinancing some 2 properties with them.
They do a
hopefully.
long-term
Mhm.
program that we like, and there's not a whole lot of people out there doing that, but they definitely do that. I think Lima One is doing a rental program.
I think
Lending Home is doing one as well.
lending. I can't remember if it's Lending Home or
Lending
Lending
Home
One.
is the one that's out in California.
Yeah, but Lending One, or I'm sorry, what is it called? Home.
No,
Who
I'm
are you
not-
talking about? I mean, like what city, what state? It's hard. to know.
Nationally, I'm just trying. Never mind.
Now I'm
I'll think
trying
of
to
it
see.
in a minute.
Lending Home is who I'm using.
Yeah,
Sorry, Lending
Lending
Home.
Home.
That's who I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah,
So Lending Home they have a really good web platform too.
yeah.
It's like filling out TurboTax.
Mhm.
It was super easy. I went on there within 5 minutes. I had it all filled out.
Yeah,
Real easy.
Again, your national lenders aren't going to be able to do stuff out of the box like a regional lender.
yeah.
And keep in mind, most of your national lenders aren't balance sheet lenders.
And what does balance sheet mean?
Means they own their own money. Well, they don't really own it, but they control it. When we're a balance sheet lender, it's either your money or you have an investing pool that you're controlling.
Right.
Where
Which is
if
what
you're
we
not
are.
a balance sheet lender, you're selling it to investors on Wall Street.
Mhm.
And if you
And
don't
you
know if the lender you're working with is or not, just look at that time period during March to July. Were they lending? If they weren't,
And they don't have their own.
they don't have their own money.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. We had like no competitors for a long time.
Yeah, for 3 or 4 months, it was no one out there. It was great.
Well, it's difficult when you're a national lender
Yeah.
because you don't have feet on the ground in every area.
Yeah.
So
But the benefit to that of being a national lender too is their rates are really low,
Mhm.
but it's low because they're using that Wall Street money.
you have to fit in the box.
Right,
If you don't fit
right.
in the box, you're not getting a loan. So it's no different than going to Ford and buying a car. You got an assembly line and everything. All the parts are the same and everything is the same, so it does keep the cost down.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with a regional lender, everything stands on its own, so there's more eyes on each individual loan, so there's more work involved.
Right. So if you've got a unique property or you're flipping a house in an area that is not like a bigger city like Charlotte,
Mhm.
maybe you're flipping a house in a smaller town like Rock Hill,
Yeah.
or let's say Conover as opposed to Charlotte. Those smaller towns that or Moxville even. We ran into one in Moxville, which is just outside of Winston. Even we were having trouble finding an appraiser
Yeah.
in this area. So some of the national companies won't lend there because they're just not going to take
They
the
look
trouble
typically they look for 200,000 population inside that county.
right.
If there's not 200,000 people in whatever county that property is in, they usually won't lend on it.
Right.
And
Which
see,
is smart
here's something to
when
think
you're
about
national.
going forward.
Mhm.
There are going to be a lot more opportunities available outside of your major population centers
Mhm.
because people, again, and we've been beating this for a while with the way COVID is, it has allowed people to work outside of the office. So people can
Mhm.
move practically anywhere as long as they have a good internet connection. That said, you're going to have a lot more people willing to move to the smaller towns, and your national lenders are going to have trouble lending in those areas. So if you know it's not going to be in a major population center, I wouldn't even bother. I'd go straight to someone that is lending in that area specifically, and is, that's basically their home. They don't have any problem because they understand that market.
And if I had to break it down, I would say, every funding source has its pros and cons. If you want to acquire a property quickly, your best bet is hard money or private capital from, a mom and pop or something like that. That's going to be your best bet to acquire the property. If the property doesn't move along as fast as you wanted it to on the repositioning, then I would go to a larger lender to do a bridge loan on it. And then once you get it to where
explain what a bridge loan is.
Well, a bridge loan is, they're just bridging a gap. So like multifamily is probably the easiest one to talk about. You acquire the property and you want to put some money into it to reposition it and turn it from a C level asset to a B level asset. So you're going to increase rents by, to justify the rent increase, you're doing X amount of work. Well, you get in there and you acquire the property with a hard money lender, and they give you, a 12-month loan. And you get in there and within like 7 or 8 months, you're realizing you're not going to be done and ready to go to long-term agency debt in 12 months, inside 12 months. So the goal then is to get the occupancy to a certain level. Typically you want it above 60%. If you can get it there, you can get bridge debt, which is lower interest rates and higher leverage than hard money. Once you get it there, then it gives you that time to finish out what you need and then move it to the agency debt. So there's many different types of capital. And I think, one of the things that we like to do here is educate people on that. We are not your long-term lender. We're not, we're not a 5-10 year lender. We are short-term. What we specialize in is getting the property, acquiring it quickly. We know how to do that. That's where you can utilize hard money is, and that's why you can pay more on the hard monies, because it lets you move quickly, which lets you negotiate the purchase price, which gives you, lower buy-in cost to justify the higher interest rate. And then once you get it moved through that, you can, move down the steps, to get it to long-term. And that's what I would do. I would look at what is it I'm trying to accomplish and how do I get there, and then utilize each money source accordingly. I think a lot of people think, I just want to go in and get this property with the lowest cost possible. I want to pay 4% right now. That doesn't happen. And, it doesn't. So you have to, and if it does, it takes 90 to 120 days to get through that process. So, and then if you're going to take that long, you have no negotiating power.
Right.
You're going to pay market value for it.
Well, another thing that I think is an important question for investors to ask themselves and ask the lenders that they're talking to is, if this is a house, let's say you're gonna fix and flip this house, and we all know it's a short-term loan. Well, one of the things that I think rehabbers make, the biggest mistake that they make, is that they're looking for the lowest interest rate. And that is not the best deal. You need to really be asking, how much money am I bringing out of my pocket when I go to this closing table? That's big. That should be really important to you. The interest rate, it doesn't matter if you're paying 15% or if you're paying 7%. It doesn't matter. You're only making that payment for a few months. You should only be making that payment for a few months.
Yeah. If you know it's going to take you more than a year, then you might want to consider
then you care about the interest rate. But it's really, how much money are you bringing out of your pocket to make it happen? And so points are an issue. What are some other fees that are charged? You need to talk about that.
Let me add this real quick. I know we've gone over this many times, but I just want to say it.
He wants to beat the horse.
Simple. we do interest only loans, and they're annualized. So it's based on 12 months. So if you had a 12% interest rate and you paid 6 payments, you're only paying 6% interest. If you made 3 payments, you're paying 3% interest.
Right.
Interest is not the key driver here.
Right.
And those
It's
are
the time
non-annualized numbers.
Yeah, that's so true.
That's real cash out of your pocket.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. The other thing, like a great example, I got a call from a gentleman who wanted to do a loan, and he was talking to another company that we know and like. We know this company well. And you know, we were charging 3 points and 10.99%.
Yeah.
And he got a deal of what he thought was going to be 0 points and 8% interest. I said, well, you need to take that out. You're a fool.
No.
You know, I wouldn't even question that. I'd jump all over that. Well, a couple days later, he calls back and says, well, it wasn't what I thought it was, because that the lender didn't have all the information. It was a quad, if I remember correctly. And he was going to go ahead and have to buy it because he couldn't close it in time. He couldn't close the deal in time.
Refinance it.
And then he was going to refinance it with either our hard money loan or their hard money loan, the 8% loan.
Mhm.
And but what he wanted was to get some cash back out of that purchase, because that was a $120,000 purchase. So we were going to give him 50% of his purchase and then 100% of his rehab. So he would get some of that money back.
Yeah.
The company that he was going with at the 0 points and 8% wasn't going to give him any money out of his pocket. So even though that interest rate would have worked and it would have been a great deal, he needed that cash back so that he could go on and do other things and you know, continue to grow his business. So so it just really depends on what your situation is, what you need the money for, what you're doing elsewhere. You need to just quantify and qualify the other companies that you're working with, because everybody will serve a purpose. And, you know, we say this, we've said it a million times, we'll say it a million more times. Our goal as a hard money lender is to get you to a point where you don't need us anymore, which is kind of stupid, but that's really what we are. We serve a purpose for a certain type individual for a certain period of time. There's a season for using hard money lenders in your life. You want to get to a point where you're not needing hard money all the time.
Yeah.
And you have private money that you can go to, which is going to be much cheaper going to somebody that's a private lender, or maybe you'll get a bank that will give you a line of credit, or even better, you'll have your own cash and you'll be able to self-fund your own stuff. You know, maybe that's what you want to do. So
when you read something that says rates starting at,
I love that.
That means that is the least risky, the lowest LTV, no cash out, refinance kind of stuff.
See, I always thought it meant rates starting at means you could never get this.
It's no different than when we sent out the advertising saying that, did you want to see Bill in his bikini body?
That's right.
In our broadcast last week by the beach. It never said see Bill in a bikini.
And it was covered up, thank God.
All right, folks. Once again, we are Carolina Capital Management. Our website is carolinahardmoney.com. If you're a borrower interested in borrowing money, click on the borrower tab. If you're an investor looking for passive returns, click on the investor tab. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And if you still have other questions, you can still put it in the comments. We won't answer it, but no. We have people that actually go back afterwards and scan the comment section. And
Bill has people.
We'll add those to our next questions. Yes, my people have people, and they look at the comments.
In fact, I think probably an ugly question for next week is, and I'm gonna hold to this, is that we need to give out the questions that you should be asking when you're talking to a lender, whether it's a hard money lender or a private money lender.
Oh, by the way, we're going to put a list together of some lenders that we like in the space.
Yep.
And we'll have that posted, and we'll let you know when they're
ready. We can absolutely do that.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of people that are really good, they do what they say they're going to do. Yep. They're trustworthy. They care about you as a borrower. They care about their reputation. They're people that we know, like, and trust. And
And typically, those people who care about their reputation are balance sheet lenders who have their own money.
Yeah.
They care about the reputation. Most of the people who perhaps don't care as much are those originators who are just originating for larger shops.
Yeah.
When you have your own money and it's your own reputation, it's your livelihood, you really care about your reputation.
Yeah. Another thing we could do is, the top 10 other funds we would recommend would be another good one.
Or why is Bill so tan? It's because he was at the beach last week. All right, guys, it's a pleasure. Thank you for being on the show, which the name of the show is Passive Income.
Active Wealth.
I love the passive
Passive,
something.
Passive doesn't necessarily mean slow, it just feels.
Yeah, passive means you don't have to work for it.
Okay, so
Bill, you just talk slow.
Passive income, active wealth. You guys have a great week.
Thank you.
Take care.
So